If every day you have meetings and every day everybody sees the world exactly the same, you are going to have no growth.
Hi, my name's Devon. Today I own several multi-million-dollar companies. We started with $5,000 in a credit card. I don't know the easy way. I only know the hard way.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Whiteboard Entrepreneur Podcast, where I give straightforward advice to fuel the entrepreneur in all of us. Today I want to talk to you right now about having healthy tension in your organization. And I just had a situation happen not long ago, one of my companies, where I was kind of watching some stuff develop, and I felt like we did not have healthy tension. And because we didn't have healthy tension within our organization, we ended up with kind of a big, miss, a big cosmic screw up. And the backstory is, we had the sales operations and the sales leaders. And what happens is when we get new customers, we have this onboarding process. So we have the sales organization, the sales leaders, and then we have the onboarding process and the onboarding leaders. And what happens is every single month we look at the results of the sales. How many of them got onboarded? What percentage is our onboarding rate? And, not to get too deep in the details, but we're normally around like 92% or 94%. I don't know, whatever it was. Onboarding rate, we're, out of 100 that we, sell, 92% of these clients get onboarded and are happy and, utilize our service moving forward. However, because the onboarding process takes a while, it's about 6 months. And so you don't really know the results until like 6 months later. So obviously 6 months later, it's kind of almost too late. And so we would have these meetings every month and we would look at the numbers and I'd be like, oh, guys, I'm a little nervous. I feel like we're probably not going to hit our numbers. And both the sales manager and the onboarding manager, implementation manager were like, no, we're fine, and they seemed to get along and they had, zero issues. And I'm like, sales, aren't you upset or aren't you concerned that, a lot of your sales don't appear to be on board? And they're like, no, it's fine. And then implementation, I was like, implementation, are you concerned that maybe sales is sending stuff over that they shouldn't be, that's not properly sold, or customers have bad expectations? They're like, no, it's fine. Everything's good. Well, here we are 6 months later. Sure enough, we didn't hit our numbers. I mean, we were probably 5 points off. And I was so frustrated because, for one, I had called it out, but for two, there should be a tension within the organization between these two departments. But instead, everyone was just in agreement and amiable. And I'm like, I actually got them together and I'm like, guys, you have to have a healthy tension between the two of you, right? There's a reason why I have it set up this way, because I want each one of you pushing and pulling on the other. And when you do, when you push and you pull and you say, hey, why aren't my sales getting onboarded? I just saw 5 last week that didn't get onboarded. Tell me what we did wrong, or tell me why you didn't get onboarded. And then implementation, I want you to say, because your 5 sales sucked, right? Because you didn't do it right. And I want you guys to push each other back and forth and back and forth. And when you do, you're going to get the best out of each other. But if everyone just sits around, in the company holding hands, singing Kumbaya around the campfire, nothing gets done, right? And so within organizations, there has to be a healthy tension. And that's not just, peer-to-peer. Because a lot of times people think, oh, well, I have no problem pushing back on my peers. Well, that's good, right? But also, what about pushing up to whoever your supervisor is? And also, what about pushing down below? And then this kind of 360 culture of healthy tension within your organization. And if you're listening right now and you're going, yeah, that sounds great, and I'm the leader of the organization, I really need my people to push and pull a little bit. Let me ask you, are you comfortable with them pushing against you? Because they need to. I'm going to tell you, in one of my companies in particular, I had a person, I'm a big personality, right? And a lot of times people don't like to disagree with me because I'm very passionate and I get excitable. But I had this person within our organization that we hired kind of as a consultant. He came in and I was like, man, I kind of like some of these ideas that this guy's saying. And so we brought him in, we hired him, and he's been just a really great piece, a very crucial part of the organization. But I'm going to tell you, I almost fired him like 3 times the first year because he made me so mad. He had this conflict against me, right? And he had this vision that frankly, I had kind of gotten a little, in a rut in my way of thinking, because at this point in time, I had done business, my way for, 18 years, 15 years, I don't know, whatever it was. And so I was kind of like, this is the way I see the world. And actually, I'm probably more like 20 years at this point. And I was like, this is kind of the way I see the world. And he's coming in and pushing on some ideas and some of the, the sacred cows of what I thought, right? And we had this healthy, it didn't start as healthy because I didn't have a secure mindset, but he kept pushing against my ideas and pushing and healthy and respectfully pushing against, what I believe to be correct. And it frustrated me in the beginning. It really frustrated me. And I was like, I'm going to fire this guy. He's pissing me off. But luckily, I was able to process it and think about it and really listen to what he was pushing on. And all of a sudden I thought, you know what? You might be right. You might have a different approach. I didn't see it at first. And actually, it's not what I would normally do, but let's try out your idea. Let's do this. And because of that particular push-pull, that healthy tension within our organization, it propelled us to the next level. And so I really have personally tried to become someone that even when we get in meetings, right? Because I like to make all of our decisions as a group. But even when we get in meetings and it's like our end of month meetings, we have all the executives in there. Like we have conflict, we have disagreement. I oftentimes will do one of two things. I will either A, speak last, and I will let everybody else go first. Or B, if I do feel like I need to set the table, I will say something like, hey guys, this is kind of what I see. This is my opinion, and this is how I would approach the problem. But I want everyone in this room to know that I'm not always right. Probably I'm more wrong than I'm right. So if anyone sees it differently, please feel free to speak up. Like, I want you to push back on my idea. I want you to have healthy tension. And I invite that into the room. And oftentimes it allows people to say, well, Devon, I understand why you're saying that, but here's the way I would look at the problem. I go, wow, that's great, right? And all of a sudden I'm like, let's go with your idea, not my idea. And so there has to be this tension, this healthy push, pull within your organization to grow. And this is just the way life works, right? Like if you go into the gym every day and you do the same weight and you're never sore, you're never feeling that weight, that tension, that stress, you're not growing in the weight room. Like you're not getting any stronger. You look the same, you're not doing anything. And that's what happens in your companies, right? If every day you have meetings and every day everybody sees the world exactly the same, you are going to have no growth because you're just going to continue on the same path that you guys have always done. And so it's necessary to bring people in and to encourage this new ideas, new way of thinking, new approaches to your business so that you can get that tension and that growth just like you would get out of the weight room. And so people say, all right, Devon, that's great. But like, I got to tell you, I've been in these situations before and sometimes they just don't feel healthy. So what does healthy tension look like in your organization? Because I've been in these meetings and people are screaming and throwing stuff at each other and quitting and resigning. And, the CEO is just pounding his fist saying my way or the highway kind of thing. And so what does this look like? And I would say, first off, that's not healthy. None of that is healthy, right? And I'm a passionate person. You can tell, right? Sometimes I get excited. Sometimes I raise my voice and I have to think about this and think about, even though I'm like, I'm not trying to be intimidating. I have to realize that type of a delivery could be intimidating, especially to someone who doesn't know me well. So as an organization and as a leader, you have to realize how people will perceive you as their leader, because a lot of times people aren't comfortable going to their boss and saying, hey, boss, I disagree. And so you have to realize that your body language, the way that you speak, the words that you use, your tonology, your volume, all of that has to be inviting to have that push, pull, that tension within your organization. And so I would tell you, one, if everyone agrees, that's a problem. 2, if everyone's yelling at each other and hates each other, that's a problem, right? Like, you need to have mutual professional respect. And I don't mean you all need to be best friends, right? You don't need to hang out with each other on the weekend. It's great if you do, but like, you need to be able to disagree with someone and still have respect for them. The other day, my wife knew I was really irritated over a decision that I couldn't control. And she's like, well, what do you think about this person, the decision they made? I said, oh, I absolutely 100% disagree with them. And she's like, are you mad at them? Are you guys still friends? I'm like, oh, yeah, we're great friends. I tell him all the time, I 100% disagree with your decision, and here's why. And he tells me, oh, I totally disagree with your decision, here's why. And I'm like, cool, let's go have a beer, right? Like, we're fine, right? But like, you have to have that emotional maturity to be able to say, I disagree with you, but I respect you, right? And I also disagree with you, but I want to hear and I want to understand your perspective. And that's how we want our organizations to look. The other example I'd give is, as many of you know, I coach, right? And so I have 4 other coaches that coach with me. I want coaches that disagree with me, right? When I put a lineup together and I show my coaches the lineup, it does me no good if my coaches go, you're brilliant, I want to change the thing. Like, that doesn't help me. That doesn't help the team grow. It really helps me when my coaches say, I understand why you're thinking about that lineup, but here's another lineup that I drew up. What do you think about that? What if you thought if we played this person in this position? And I'm going to tell you, just like in business, half the time my coaching, they changed my mind. And that's why I have assistant coaches. That's why we're a team. And if you're not someone that receives feedback and growth, you don't have a team. You're a dictator, right? And you're only going to be as good or as big as you were. And believe me, as you age over time, you might have been really good. Maybe you didn't need anyone's opinion 10 years ago, 15 years ago when you got into business. But over time, like, you're going to get in these ruts and you're going to only see the world through the lens that makes sense to you. And if you don't allow other people to challenge you and push and pull, you're going to end up with such a static organization. Guys, this concept of healthy tension within your organization is so necessary for growth. It is so necessary for your company to get better, for you to grow as a leader, for you to develop your own leaders within your organization, because if they don't have a voice, they can't grow. They won't lead, and frankly, they'll stop believing because all that they do is follow you, the tyrant, instead of it being their ideas and their growth. And here's the other thing. Sometimes you're going to be in these meetings and you're going to have this healthy tension and you're going to think what's right. You're going to think it's right, and you're going to allow someone else to make a decision, and you're going to be like, okay, this is on you. And guess what? They're going to be wrong. And then you're going to be like, dang it, I knew it. That's why I'm taking back over the wheel. Give me the wheel, and it's going to be my way or the highway. And I'm going to tell you, like, how many times have you been wrong, right? And again, just even allowing people to be wrong is part of healthy tension as well. Guys, you need to listen to this podcast a couple times because there's a lot in here, and there's a lot of emotional maturity that you have to have. There's a lot of emotional intelligence that you have to have in order to bring this into your organization in a healthy way. But let me encourage you to listen to this one a couple times. Evaluate it against your current operation. Think about the people that you have in your operation. Are they just a bunch of yes men and women that just everything that you say is yes, 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 and all that they do is basically they're slaves, right? Like, they just do what you tell them to do? Or do you have people that have their own opinions? And if they don't have their own opinions, is that because you've repressed them and kept them down, and the language you use and your body language doesn't allow that? And then also find those people who are coming into the meetings and all that they are is Debbie Downers, or the people that all they want to do is have a contrary position. All that they want to do is fight against the organization just because they have ginormous egos and they want to be in charge or whatever. And you have to look at that as well and say, is that healthy? Because it's probably not. So there's so much baked into this, right? Each scenario, each company, each organization is going to look different, but you have to understand how you want it to look, compare it against what it is today, listen to this podcast, and apply this to your lives. And I know it will help. I'm Devon, and this is the Whiteboard Entrepreneur Podcast.